Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Kurotsuchi's mission to Konoha led her to fall for Naruto? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. What's going on guys, it's Rice Man here. You all might know me as the guy behind Naruto's adventures. I recently read a FIC that pairs Naruto with Kurotsuchi called Love Your Enemy, and I can say that has made me fall in love with this pairing. Honestly, I think this pairing deserves its own massive following because it is severely underrated, and I hope my FIC can help shine some light onto it. In my story, however, Kurotsuchi will meet Naruto when they are both 10 years old and we'll work from there. Here is my first chapter and I hope you enjoy. Also, this story will feature two main OCs, one will appear in the next few chapters while the other will appear later on. This is an O with no ridiculous sage of six paths or whatever the hell it is. The anime went from being about ninjas with control over elements to albino horned alien freaks and this, god tree, crap. This FIC will strictly be about ninjas and will not feature any of the ridiculous stuff that showed up during the war arc. This FIC will be a crossover with Rurouni Kenshin as well and will have that historical samurai versus ninja feel later on. Characters such as Might Guy and the other Jonin as well as the Konoha Rookie 9 will not be important as this story is my take on the anime. I do not own Naruto, it belongs to Kishimoto. Chapter 1. Moving to Konoha. Iwagakure no Sato, Tsuchikage's office. It was around 7 in the evening and we are taken to the office of the most powerful shinobi in Iwagakure, or simply the village hidden in the stones. The scene shifts to the interior of the office and we see the third Tsuchikage, Onoki, sitting at his desk and beside him was his son Kitsuchi, a jonin of the village, and before the two of them was their precious daughter and granddaughter Kurotsuchi. The expression she had on her face was one of anger and annoyance, and here's why. What do you mean you're sending me to live in Konoha? Screamed the girl. Kurotsuchi, Iwa and Konoha have never really gotten along since our villages were founded years ago. I am hoping this little exchange between us and Konoha will at least keep relations stable. Kitsuchi explained to his daughter. He hated Konoha with a burning passion, but he was glad the Hokage and the Tsuchikage at least agreed to do this in hopes of easing the very hostile feelings their villages had for each other since the beginning. That's right, Kurotsuchi dear. The Hokage will send his grandson here as well as a student of the Land of Earth, just as you will be for the Land of Fire. Onoki said. Screw Konoha and their little proposal. Who cares, we don't need to be friends with them, they're nothing but a bunch of Iwa killing scum. I'd rather be dead than go to their crappy village. Kurotsuchi protested. The Tsuchikage wasn't in the mood to argue. You insolent girl, be quiet and listen. You're doing this whether you like it or not. He yelled at the top of his lungs while using his big head jutsu. The force of his screams shook the whole room and was loud enough to scare Kurotsuchi, causing her to fall on her butt shaking in fear. Fine. I'll do it, but I won't like it. You don't have to like it dear, just deal with it. Who knows? You may like it later on. Onoki said with a smile. Kitsuchi, please hand her papers please. Complying, Kitsuchi walks over to Kurotsuchi and hands her a folder containing her files that she was going to submit to Iwa's Ninja Academy. You and Chihiro give this to the Hokage when you get there. He'll know right away. Grabbing her enrollment papers, Kurotsuchi proceeded to look at it. Her name was written in the middle of the folder and contained her papers for her to enroll at Konoha's Ninja Academy. Looking at Onoki, she asked, so am I going as an Iwa or Konoha Academy student? Any way you see fit dear. You could be an Iwa kunoichi living in Konoha and registered in their system, but most likely you'll be wearing their headband. Just what I need. Living there is punishment enough, but wearing their headband is just gross. Kurotsuchi groaned. At least you're a kunoichi regardless. Kitsuchi spoke up. When you graduate we will send you the Iowa shinobi outfit if you want, or you can wear theirs. Kurotsuchi just sighed in defeat. So when do I go there again? She asked. You leave tomorrow morning, dear. You will be brought there by my assistant Chihiro. After you've met with the Hokage you're pretty much on your own. Onoki explained. Yes, you should go get rest, Kurotsuchi, because you leave first thing in the morning. Kitsuchi added. Nodding with a sigh, Kurotsuchi left to get some rest. Kurotsuchi, wait. Onoki said, getting the girl's attention. What is it now, Gramps? Who knows? You might also meet a guy you'll like there. The Tsuchikage teased with a perverted grin. Kurotsuchi blushed and quickly left the room, much to the amusement of the two older men. Now alone in the room, the two men began talking. So you think this will really benefit us? I mean, we do have the Hokage's grandson coming here as part of the exchange. Kitsuchi asked the elderly man. Yes, I am sure. Kumo, Suna, and Kiri have done this before with Konoha, and since this is Hiruzen it makes it just a tad bit easier. Had it been Minato I would have attacked him right away, answered the Tsuchikage. If you say so, Lord Tsuchikage. That traitorous bastard Deidara bombing us several weeks ago puts us in an even worse position. You are right, it's also best for her safety as well. Onoki said. Konoha main gate. As the sun rises across Konohagakure, two 18-year-old chunin guarding the main gate awake from their unauthorized slumber. These two are Azumo Kamizuki and Katetsu Hagane, and they've been on guard duty for 20 days straight. Azumo, wake up, it's morning and time to begin another boring day as gate guards. Katetsu groaned as he stretches himself. He reaches over and places a hand on Azumo's shoulder, prodding the man awake. Yo, freaking let me sleep, will you? Azumo grumbled. Sure. Then let Lord Hokage catch you and you'd be demoted to a genin. Katetsu shot back. This served to wake Azumo almost instantly, and the man quickly grabs his hygiene kit and began brushing his teeth, combing his hair and washing his face with a sink he made appear from God knows where. What the hell? Where'd that sink come from? I got my ways, bro. Azumo chuckled. Shut the hell up and hurry up. We got another day of writing down traffic. We always get stuck doing this shit. 5 minutes later. About a quarter mile out from the main gate we see the young Kurotsuchi and the Tsuchikage's secretary named Chihiro approaching the main gate. Chihiro looked to face the young girl and saw that she was donning an annoyed expression on her face. What's wrong, Kurotsuchi? Aren't you excited to visit another village, let alone live in one for a while? She asked the young kunoichi to be. No, I don't want to live in that poor excuse of a village. They're all murderers and deserve to be wiped out off the face of the earth. Kurotsuchi shot back. Stop it. When are you going to understand that this is for our village's benefit? Do you not want us to at least be on friendly terms with Konoha, or would you rather have the both of us hate each other forever and probably go to war again? You know we aren't in a position to fight another war, Kurotsuchi. If another one broke out we would be annihilated. We've lost so many shinobi last time and we can't go through that again. Besides, think of it this way. You've already mastered your lava release, correct? Kurotsuchi nods at Chihiro's question. Then you can add the element of fire to your disposal to make you even more awesome. Fire is probably the most powerful element, and from what I've heard has some really good jutsu for it. So that's a benefit for you. Chihiro finished. And what other benefits are there, huh? Kurotsuchi snorted. Besides being educated and taught in fire release techniques, you'll also be trained by the best academy out of the 5 great nations. Konoha is well known for producing excellent ninja, and they're no doubt the best trained as well. So there's that, Chihiro explained. Kurotsuchi's eyes turned into stars. She does have a point. I'm already awesome as it is, but being trained by the best ninja, Gross, I mean, being trained by Konoha's best is not too shabby at all. Learning fire release makes it even better too. Hey, we're here, Chihiro said, snapping Kurotsuchi out of her thoughts. Huh, I said we're here. Kurotsuchi looks towards her front and sees the main gate of Konohagakure, open and ready to accept whoever walks through them. She had to admit it gave off a friendly, warm and welcoming vibe, which was something that she wasn't used to. The two Aiwa ladies then enter the gate and walk up towards the small checkpoint where Azumo and Katetsu were. Hi, may I see your identification, papers, all those goodies? Azumo asked with a warm smile. Chihiro reaches for her ID and hands it to the Chunin. Looking at Kurotsuchi, she raises her eyebrow, prompting the young girl to hand Katetsu her exchange papers. The two Chunin then take the time to look over the documents before nodding in satisfaction. So I presume this young lady is part of the exchange program between our villages? Azumo asked, handing the two ladies their documents. Yes, young Kurotsuchi here will attend the academy. Chihiro replied with a smile. Just my luck. Kurotsuchi mumbled. Oh come on little lady, the Konoha Ninja Academy is the best. We have amazing instructors and the student body is quite diverse, as it is already. I think you'll meet some good kids your age you'd get along well with. Katetsu inquired. Yeah, whatever you say. The soon-to-be kunoichi groaned before receiving a tap on the back of the head from Chihiro. Hey, excuse her behavior, she isn't feeling well this morning, gentlemen. Would you be so kind to escort us to see the Hokage? Sure, Azumo said before clearing his throat. OANBUUUUUUUUUUUUU. He shouted in a sing-song voice. And like that, two Anbu agents appeared before the four of them. Could you guys escort these ladies to see Lord Hokage? The little lady there is an exchange student from Iwagakure. Azumo explained. The two Anbu nod before motioning the Aiwa ladies to follow suit. Man, she is a mean girl. Katetsu said once they were out of hearing range. She's from Iowa, so it makes sense why she's acting like that, so give the kid a break, Katetsu. Azumo said in a bossy voice. Well, I sure hope she doesn't end up killing some kids from our village, considering that some bad blood still exists between us and them. I agree. Azumo concluded. The two of them were left to sulk in depression as another day as gate guards begins. Hokage Tower. Chihiro, Kurotsuchi and the two Anbu are seen walking up the staircase towards the Hokage's office. After a few more minutes they finally approach the large double doors where the office is. Here we are, please go ahead and enter. One of the Anbu said. Thank for your escort, Chihiro said. Nodding, the two Anbu then shunshin, leaving the two ladies alone. Chihiro then bent down to where she was eye level with Kurotsuchi. Now Kurotsuchi, I want you to be on your best behavior, alright? For the love of Kami, don't start anything with any of the young Konoha shinobi, don't pick fights, and please don't insult the Hokage. That would be pretty bad since he knows the Tsuchikage's granddaughter is attending as an exchange student. I can't guarantee that, Chihiro-san. My temper and arrogance gets the best of me sometimes, so whatever I do you can blame the brats who pushed me. Kurotsuchi snorted. Young lady, Chihiro shouted as her eyes glow red, sending waves of killer intent towards the little girl. You should be grateful the Hokage has the heart to accept you as one of his in this exchange. Other kids we offered to do this with absolutely refused to do so, and that makes sense. Make Iowa look good, and most importantly, make your father and granddad look good, said Chihiro. Kurotsuchi knew she was right, she can't screw up, and now she had to throw away her hatred of Konoha aside if she wanted to even be a kunoichi. Fine, I understand, Chihiro-san. I promise to behave, Kurotsuchi said with a sigh. Chihiro smiled. Maybe Kurotsuchi would pull through and get through the ninja academy without causing any problems. Getting up, she balls her hand into a fist ready to knock on the door. Ready, Kurotsuchi? She asked, turning to look at the girl. Yes. Chihiro then knocked on the door 3 times as loud as she could. The two of them were greeted with silence before a voice spoke. Come in. Chihiro then grabs the door knob and turns it, opening the door, and they enter the office. Closing the door behind them, Chihiro turns to face the Hokage, and the two of them were greeted by an elderly man. Kurotsuchi guessed was the same age as the Tsuchikage. He had a warm smile on his face and was smoking a pipe. Ah, are you the two lovely ladies from Iowa? I am Hiruzen Sarutobi, and I am the Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato. He welcomed. Yes, I have brought young Kurotsuchi here to attend your academy as an exchange student on behalf of the Tsuchikage. Chihiro explained. Smiling, the Hokage looks at Kurotsuchi. The girl was a bit apprehensive, but when she saw that his eyes had a look of calm and kindness in them, she sighed in relief. And do you have your files? Any important documents you will need to enroll in our academy, young Kurotsuchi? Nodding, Kurotsuchi takes her file out of her pack and walks up to the elderly man. Taking it from the girl, Hiruzen then proceeds to look over her enrollment papers that came with the packet. Nodding in satisfaction, he then places the papers on his desk. Well then, looks like you'll be attending as an exchange student. I'll gladly mail this to the academy headmaster and you will receive a letter in the mail that will confirm your acceptance, said the Hokage. Thank you, Lord Hokage, Kurotsuchi said politely as she bows. Haha, no need for formalities, young lady. Today I'm feeling very jolly, so just call me Hokage-sama, okay? Oh, okay, Hokage-sama. Ahem, now I will give you your address to the apartment complex you will live in for free. Don't worry about not being guarded because I have Anbu who will make sure anyone who dislikes those from Iowa won't try anything. Your safety is my utmost concern and will be guaranteed. Hiruzen explained. He then takes a pen and writes down the address to the complex before handing it to Kurotsuchi. There you go, that will be all. So do you have anything else to say before I send you off? Nothing here for me to say, Lord Hokage. Thank you for having Kurotsuchi here in your village. I'm sure Lord Tsuchikage would be pleased you are at least trying to normalize relations with us. Chihiro said with a bow. No problem, will that be all? The two Iowa ladies shake their heads in response before Hiruzen dismissed them. They proceed to leave the tower and make their way towards the front entrance of the building. Chihiro bends down to Kurotsuchi's level to bid her farewell. Well, Kurotsuchi, this is where I have to leave you, dear. You going to be okay on your own? She questioned. Yeah, I'm a big girl now, so don't stress out. I'll find my way to the apartment. Kurotsuchi answered with confidence. Good. Be on your best behavior and we'll see you whenever. Kissing her on the forehead, Chihiro then waves goodbye before walking off and disappearing into the crowd. Kurotsuchi then looks at the paper with the address on it and begins making her way there. Apartment complex. 1 hour later. Kurotsuchi spent over an hour looking for her apartment complex, but it was no easy task. She got lost 5 minutes after she began her search. Man, Konoha is no doubt the largest village of them all. I never got lost in Iowa like this before. Walking into the door, she shows the front desk receptionist her exchange papers and receives the key to her apartment. Thanking the receptionist, she then makes her way up to the 3rd floor where her apartment is. Let's see. C1, C2, here is apartment C3. Taking her key, she unlocks the door and opens it. She was greeted to cool air, to which she sighs in relief. Wow, the AC is already on, she thought as she walks into the living room. Setting her pack on the desk in the kitchen, she notices an envelope and a note on the table for her. Picking it up, she opens the envelope and finds over $500,000 for food, shopping, and other necessities that she may need later on. Taking the note, she reads it. Dear Kurotsuchi, this is a welcome letter from me, the third Hokage, and with your grandfather we've discussed sending a shinobi from each our villages in hopes to normalize relations between Konoha and Iwa. In the envelope, if you haven't opened it yet, contains enough ryo to last you for the 4 years you will be in the academy. Don't worry about water, gas, or electricity because those are all free courtesy of me. I hope you enjoy your stay in Konoha and your future career as an Iwa kunoichi in service to us. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. Smirking, Kurotsuchi puts the letter aside and opens her fridge to find it stocked up. Holy crap! The old man planned ahead, huh? Looking into the fridge's shelves, she spots several frozen meats, sriracha sauce, frozen yogurt, dumpling recipes, and various fruit juices. Peeking at the top of the fridge, she spots 2 gallons of water and 2 24 packs of water bottles stacked atop one another. Moving onwards towards the counter, she sees cooking utensils placed neatly and orderly. Taking a chair, she climbs onto the countertop and opens up the shelves and sees various cooking ingredients such as salt, pepper, and everything you would want. You know, maybe being here wouldn't be that bad, she whispered to herself. She then proceeds to unpack her bag and takes out a fresh pair of clothes to shower. 30 minutes later, she exits the shower and jumps onto the couch in the living room. The couch feels nice, much better than those old rock ones back home. Deciding that sitting and laying would be boring, she decided that she might as well go out and explore the village a little, since it's better to know it now than later so she doesn't get lost. Getting up, she then heads out the door and begins her self-tour of the village. Streets of Konoha. After over 2 hours of walking through the village and finding where the food, shinobi, and clothing stores were, she was starting to feel hungry and thought it would be a good idea to get some lunch. Checking her little watch, she saw that it was around 1 in the afternoon. I wonder if this dump has any good places worth eating at, she said as she stops to take a quick look around. One stand catches her eye. A ramen stand that had a sign sporting the words, Ichiraku Ramen. Well, I guess ramen will do since it looks relatively friendly and cheap, she said to herself as she walks up to the shop. Taking a seat, she notices that the stand only had about 12 seats and was really small but had a really nice and friendly atmosphere to it. She spots a girl with brown hair who appeared to be a year older than her cleaning the dishes, while an older man in his mid-30s was seen prepping the broth for the noodles. She sat there silently before the girl spotted her. Hi. Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen. What can I get you? The girl said in a very cheerful tone. Oh, this is my first time here. Actually, this is my first time in this village, so I don't really know what you have. Kurotsuchi replied. I think I can guess why you haven't been here before, young lady. It's because you're an exchange student here, right? The older man said without looking at her. Yeah, that's why. I'm from Iwagakure. Iwa, huh? Never met anyone from there before, so it's a pleasure. I'm Tuki, and this fine little lady here is my daughter Ayame. Tuki introduced with a bow. Nice to meet you. Ayame greeted. Kurotsuchi, likewise. You know, since it's your first time here, I'll give you a free bowl on the house, Tuki said as he dumps some ramen into the broth to cook. I mean, if you insist, that is. Kurotsuchi shrugged. Hey, it's on the house. Oh, fine. Thanks anyway. After about 5 minutes, another person comes into the stall and takes a seat 2 stools away from Kurotsuchi. Looking out the corner of her eye, she could make out a boy with spiky blonde hair about her age. Turning to face him completely, she saw that he had blue eyes and whisker marks on his cheeks that made him look a bit feral. Oh, Daddy, Naruto is here. Ayame shouted in glee. Get him his usual, Tuki called out. The blonde boy sat there with a huge smile on his face. Noticing the girl sitting close to him, he turns his head and looks her way. The two lock eyes for a moment before Naruto gave her his trademark grin, then turning away. There was something about the look in his eyes that got Kurotsuchi curious. While his eyes and smile displayed happiness, Kurotsuchi saw a sense of loneliness and depression. Hiya. I'm Naruto. You can send the love letters later. Nice to meet you. The blonde greeted with his foxy grin as he looks back at her. Yeah, she said as a bowl of ramen was placed in front of her. Oh dang, that actually looks really good. Enjoy, Ayame said before giving the blonde his bowl. Thanks Ayame, he shouted as he goes to devour his bowl in 2.5 seconds. Kurotsuchi was taking her second bite when she looked at the boy and her eyes nearly rocketed out of her sockets. That blonde had already eaten 12 bowls while she was only on her second bite. Holy crap, how the heck does he do that? No human on earth can eat that fast. She thought with a deadpan expression. Another 5 minutes would go by, and when Kurotsuchi got halfway through her bowl, she turned and looked and saw over 20 more empty bowls stacked up beside the boy. This guy doesn't hold back when it comes to eating, huh? Picking up the pace, Kurotsuchi devours her bowl just as Naruto finished bowl number 22. Burping, he turns to look at the girl, giving her a grin. I see you trying to eat as fast as me, huh? Think you can do better? He asked. Kurotsuchi just scoffed before a second bowl was placed in front of her. With the utmost efficiency, she managed to devour it in 5 seconds, much to Naruto's surprise. Haha. That was fast, but not fast enough. Naruto said as another bowl was placed in front of him, and to Kurotsuchi's surprise, he ate it in literally a quarter of a millisecond. What the? She said. Setting the bowl down, the blonde turns to face the girl with his supposed signature grin. Think you can top that, girly? He questioned. With a tick mark forming on her head, she pounds on the counter and screams, "Third bowl. Now. Here you go," Tsuki said. Grabbing the bowl and putting it against her face, she proceeds to devour it at a speed that was considered inhuman, that even Naruto was once again taken by surprise. I won't lose. Kurotsuchi always wins because I'm the best. 2 hours later. After over 2 hours having a ramen eating contest, neither of them were aware of the two of them had eaten a total of 100 bowls each, and now they were on their last bowls as their little stomachs were on the verge of exploding. I won't lose to you, blondie. Kurotsuchi moaned as she takes her chopsticks and takes a bite of some ramen. Why? Yeah, sure. I may not burp raw at this. Naruto groaned as he tries to take one last bite, but before he could put the ramen in his mouth, his head slumps forward and lands on the counter. His body seemingly unconscious. Yes. Kurotsuchi shouted with her arms raised. Tsuki and Ayame couldn't help but laughed at the two children. And I believe the winner is the young Iowa exchange student. Tsuki declared while Ayame applauded. Congrats. Looks like Naruto has a rival. Whatever. Kurotsuchi said as she devours her last bowl before she performs a hand seal for a technique that allows her full stomach to immediately digest all the food. There. All better. Thanks for the food, old guy. Kurotsuchi says as she takes off. Hey, I'm not that old. Tsuki shouted in annoyance. Checking her watch, she saw that it was about 5 in the evening and decided to go look around for the training fields. After 30 minutes of searching, she found the third training field where she hoped she could practice some moves in peace away from the bustling village. She enters the field and the site was quite nice compared to the Iowa training fields. It was in the middle of a small forest with a large river cutting through the middle of it that led to a lake a quarter mile away. Huh, I guess this place is somewhat nice. She said to herself before taking out a small scroll from her small pack and focuses some chakra into her hand. Placing it on the scroll, a sword materializes and she unsheathes it and begins practicing some kendo techniques for over a few hours before deciding to head back to her apartment. Konoha Shopping District. It was around 8 at night now and Kurotsuchi was walking the now semi-quiet streets of Konoha. She was glad she was walking home at this time because during the day Konoha was jam-packed with people moving around, making it pretty challenging to walk the streets. Since it was 8 now, traffic had died down about 40%, making travel much easier. She continued walking until she heard a huge commotion up the street and saw a mob of sorts doing what she believed was chasing someone. Huh, who pissed those guys off? She whispered to herself, oh well, none of my business. She was about to turn the other direction when she heard what sounded like a child shout in pain, what the hell? As she was approaching the mob, she heard various sentences being said. Kill the demon. You will pay for what you did all those years ago. Time to die. She made her way directly behind the mob and spotted a mix of shinobi and villagers carrying various weapons such as pitchforks, katanas, kusarigamas and torches. Peeking through the gaps of their legs, she saw someone familiar. It was that blonde Naruto kid from the ramen stand. The boy was in a fetal position, cowering in fear before the mob. These idiots are picking on some kid. Well, I'll show them who's boss. Wait, I'll only cause a problem if I attack anyone from here. Damn. She said to herself, guess I'll just save the blondie and get out of here. With that, Kurotsuchi then hops over the mob and lands in between them and the blonde, holding her hand protectively in front of Naruto. Feeling the presence of someone looming over him, Naruto opens his eyes and spots a person standing in front of him, separating him from the mob with their hand held in front of him as if protecting him. It's that girl from the Ichirakus. He thought, recognizing the girl. Who the hell are you, girl? One of the villagers asked. Of course Iwa would help the demon boy, said another one. Why the heck are you picking on some kid? She asked sternly. Don't protect that demon spawn. He destroyed our village years ago and now we will destroy him and avenge our fallen comrades. One of the shinobi yelled. You're all scum for picking on a defenseless kid. Especially you shinobi. You're supposed to protect your comrades, not hurt them, let alone a poor child. Kurotsuchi spat before one of the Chunin charged forth with a katana ready to cut Kurotsuchi down. Oh man, just what I need. Kurotsuchi took her katana and swung it with enough force to swat the Chunin's katana right out of his grip, catching the man by surprise. What the? He shouted before the girl karate chopped his temple, knocking him out cold. Chuckling in satisfaction, she turns to face the crowd. So who's next? She said, challenging the mob to try her. Just as she said that, 2 more Chunin charged towards her with kunai in hand, and like the one before, she effortlessly dodged all their attacks and proceeded to knock one of them out before choking the other out cold. Tossing his body aside, 2 villagers came at her and she performed a roundhouse kick, knocking them both backwards against the nearby dumpster. After several more minutes of ass-kicking, Kurotsuchi had managed to beat the mob, leaving them beaten into unconsciousness. Naruto was just staring at her in awe. Cracking her neck and her knuckles, she lets out a sigh of content. Now that was worth the workout, she declared before Naruto started speaking. Wow. That was so cool. I've never seen anyone kick butt like that. You were really good, the blonde declared. Turning to face the boy, she couldn't help but smirk. I only beat them because shinobi in your village are weak. That's why they got what they got by a 10-year-old like me. I'm awesome and they suck, end of story. She boasted. So what did you do to make all these people want to kill you? Well, I never really did anything at all actually. He answered. Sure. Kurotsuchi snorted. Well, it's getting late, so you should head on home. She ordered as she handed him a handkerchief to clean off his bloody nose. Clean that blood off your face, you look like hot buttery garbage. she ordered before she turns to hop over the rooftops. Just as she was about to hop, Naruto reached out and grabbed her arm. Wait. Turning back, Kurotsuchi shot an annoyed glare at the blonde boy. What's your name? He asked. Should I tell him my name or shouldn't I? Oh fine, I guess it wouldn't hurt. I mean it's only polite. She thought. My name is Kurotsuchi. Smiling, Naruto gave her his trademark grin. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. He declared with a thumbs up. You told me already at the ramen shop, but whatever. She said before hopping away. Naruto was left standing there in awe. She's cool, he mumbled to himself as a blush forms on his face. He then begins walking home towards his apartment complex. Naruto's apartment complex. Naruto was making his way up the stairs of his apartment complex before coming up to his door. Reaching into his pocket, he takes his keys and unlocks his door and enters it. Unknown to him, however, that during his entire walk back to his apartment, Kurotsuchi was watching him from the rooftops. Watching him enter his apartment, she then turns to head to hers. There was only one thought going through her mind. Why was she feeling very caring towards him? On a bright Saturday morning on the third training field, the serene scene on display to be admired by anyone around to take in its beauty. Then the sounds of nature are interrupted by the sounds of what seems to be like someone training. The camera switches over to the field near the circular wooden targets where we see a one Naruto Uzumaki practices throwing his kunai at said circular targets. Since before the crack of dawn, young Naruto Uzumaki had been up practicing his moves for the upcoming school year at the academy. He was determined to be the best at throwing kunai. Walking over to take the kunai from off the target wood, he then walks back to his previous throwing position. Taking one of the kunai, he prepares to throw it. With a deep breath, he hurls the kunai at the target and the knife embeds a few inches off the bull's eye. Dang. Still not getting close. He grunted in frustration. Taking his second one, he takes a whole minute to get his aim good and hurls the kunai. This time the weapon getting an inch closer to the bullseye, much to his pleasure. Yeah, the blonde exclaimed, jumping for joy. Taking his last two kunai knives, he hurls them at the same time at the target and both find a mark on the wood, though they were spread out farther away from the bull's eye. Walking over to the target, he was about to pull the kunai out before someone jumped out from behind the wooden pole like a jump scare. Hey Blondie! A girl shouted, appearing as if from nowhere. Ah! Naruto cried out as the surprise greeting made him fall on his butt. Whatcha doing? The girl asked in a rather friendly tone that it was almost creepy. Rubbing his sore butt, Naruto looked up and saw someone he was hoping to see again. Kurotsuchi. The boy said as he jumps up to hug the girl, but before he could even come close, Kurotsuchi used the hilt of her sword to keep the blonde boy at bay. Ah, come on. Naruto pouted before he gave up. Just wanted to hug you. Hey, no one gets to hug me, Blondie, so too bad. Kurotsuchi snorted before looking at the target. So what are you doing out here alone so early on this lovely Saturday morning? Don't you have friends to play with? She questioned. Well, to be honest, I don't have any friends. He answered. Then why not go out and make some? Kurotsuchi asked as she started to walk away. Well, all the other kids avoid me, or their parents take them away as if to keep them away from me. Naruto said with a hint of sadness. Turning around to look at the boy, she saw his head lowered as if in shame. Now sure, she helped him yesterday from a psychopathic mob that attacked him, but she gave it second thoughts and wanted it to be a one-time thing and one-time thing only. Gah, why do I feel so caring towards him? She thought frantically. While she was thinking, Naruto's sad facial expressions turned into hope and happiness and he looked up towards Kurotsuchi. Hey, let's be friends, he declared, earning a face vault from the girl. What? Kurotsuchi asked in shock. Yeah, you heard me. Let's be best friends, Kurotsuchi. Kurotsuchi just stared at the blonde like he was insane. Be friends with him. A Konoha brat. Several seconds of silence befalls the two children as the sounds of nature were the only things heard. Well? Naruto asked, breaking the silence. Kurotsuchi continued to stare at him for a few more minutes before her inner voice spoke. Well, to be honest, he doesn't seem so bad. I mean, the boys in Iowa are all jerks, but this one isn't. I see a lone boy in need of a friend, so I guess I can play nice and befriend him. It would help to have a friend here, so. Sure. What? I said sure. You want to be friends? I guess I can be your first. Kurotsuchi repeated, crossing her arms. Overcome with joy, Naruto reached out and enveloped the Iowa exchange student in a really tight embrace. Yay! 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 He shouted in pure joy. Hey! Let go, that's too tight. Kurotsuchi ordered. Dropping the girl, Naruto scratched the back of his head nervously. Hee hee, sorry. I get too excited sometimes that weird expressions come out. He chuckled. Sure, whatever you say, Naruto. Looking back at the wood target, she took the kunai off of it and walked off a few feet to make some distance. Hey, what are you doing? Naruto asked. Let me show you how it's done, Blondie. Kurotsuchi said before tossing the first kunai straight at the target without even aiming. The projectile hits dead center on the bull's eye. Wow. No way. Naruto exclaimed. If you think that's impressive, watch this. Kurotsuchi then took the 3 kunai and placed them in between the spaces of her fingers, looking like she had claws. She then tosses the 3 kunai, and to Naruto's surprise, all 3 kunai embed dead center of the target, forming a pattern with the first one where you could draw a square with a marker if you trace the spaces between the knives. Whoa. That was cool, Kurotsuchi. Show me how to throw like that. Naruto pleaded. Placing a finger on her chin, she goes into thought for several minutes before giving her answer. I guess so, but let me ask you this. Why do you want to know how to throw kunai skillfully like me? Are you attending the Ninja Academy? Yeah. It starts Monday, so if you teach me, I can be pretty good with kunai throwing and be ahead of the other students. Naruto spoke with excitement. I guess I can, but on one condition. Kurotsuchi said. What would that be? You keep this between us. I don't want any Konoha brat but you learning from the best. She said sternly. My lips are sealed. Naruto said, placing his finger on his mouth and zipping it. By the way, why do you say Konoha brat? Aren't you from this village too? Kurotsuchi felt like throwing up at that. Her. From Konoha? Yeah, right. No way. I'm from Iwagakure no Sato, the best of the 5 great villages, and I'm here as an exchange student. So if you're wondering, yes, I'm going to the academy too. Great. We can be friends forever then. Hey, if you say so, Blondie. Kurotsuchi snorted. Yeah. Now teach me how to throw like you. Naruto beckoned. First I want to see your physical fitness. She said, wiggling her finger. My what? Physical fitness? Yeah. Like push-ups, sit-ups and your 2-mile run time, because if you want to be a shinobi of this village you need to pass the PT test they administer the week before graduation. She said in a teacher-like voice. Oh, that's easy. I do those every day. He declared confidently. Oh really then? Let's see how good your push-ups are. Get into position now. She barked with authority. All right. Naruto shouted in fear. He assumes the front-leaning rest position. Bending down so she was sort of eye level with him, she began to explain the Konoha Ninja Academy's PT test. That's if they had one, that is. All right, Blondie. Call me Naruto. Naruto interrupted. TCH, all right then, Naruto. You understand how the push-ups work, right? She questioned, earning a nod from the blonde. Good, because you will be timed for 2 minutes to see how many push-ups you can do, and the required amount you need to do is at least 42. Think you got what it takes? Hell yeah, Naruto Uzumaki can do anything. The blonde boy shouted full of confidence. Oh really? Then begin. She screamed out at the top of her lungs. Oh God. Naruto cried out before he began his push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 minute and 50 seconds later. 10 seconds. Kurotsuchi announced looking at her little watch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Ah. That was so painful. Naruto moaned, falling face first onto the dirt. So tired. Can't feel arms. Ha 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 ha. That's pretty funny. You should be proud your arms are that tired because guess what, Naruto? You did 43 push-ups. So you passed the first part of the PT test, congratulations. Kurotsuchi cheered. Wah, I passed. Oh yeah, let's get straight to the sit-ups then. Naruto said as he gets into the starting position of said workout. Come on. Start timing me. Alright then, I hope you're ready to run because after the sit-ups you're running right away without a break, Naruto. She cackled evilly. 1 hour later. After a full hour of intense workouts, Naruto was a sweaty, exhausted mess as we see the blonde laying on the ground near the river that cut through the middle of the training field, catching his breath. Huff, huff, that was a fun time. So how did I do, Kurotsuchi? He asked, turning to look at the girl standing tall over him. Do you want my honest opinion? To be honest, you did pretty good actually. You needed like 53 sit-ups at the maximum to pass and you did 55, which is pretty good. For the 2 mile the required passing time is 15:54 at the maximum and you ran a 15:40, you're not bad, Naruto. Kurotsuchi said, patting him on the forehead. Dang right, I'm good. I'm a natural at this. Oh really? Want to see how I do then? PSH, not as good as me, I bet. Oh, then time me. 45 minutes later. To say Naruto was baffled was an understatement. After timing Kurotsuchi in the push-ups, sit-ups and 2 mile run respectively, Naruto was shocked beyond belief. She performed so good that she made the blonde look like utter crap. How are you so good at this? The blonde shouted. It appears that I'm the natural in all this, Naruto, not you, you suck. She giggled, sticking her tongue out at him. You did a total of 95 push-ups, 102 sit-ups and ran a 10:01 for your run. That's awesome. Praised the blonde. How are you so good? It's simple, just eat your vegetables and practice until you drop. She declared proudly. What the? But I hate eating vegetables. Then you won't be good as me. Alright then, I can work hard to be as good as you through training. Believe it. Exactly. I was just joking about the vegetable part. I'm so good at this because I've been training since I learned to walk. She said before looking up towards the sun. Well, judging by the position of the sun, it's now 11 in the morning. I guess we can do some other forms of training if why. No way. I'll just be beaten by you anyway because you're so good at this. You were meant to be a kunoichi. Naruto pouted. That is true, but if you have the heart and dedication you too can become a shinobi, and from what I'm seeing you have those two qualities. I think you'll define in the academy. Kurotsuchi inquired. You think so? Oh yeah, my hunches are always correct. Naruto was about to say something until a very, very loud growl was heard. Seems that both their stomachs were in dire need of filling. The drawn-out growling making it seem that their stomachs were practically begging the words, "Feed me." The two of them then face each other and break out laughing as they fall over on their backs. Oh, that's funny. I've never heard a stomach growl that loud in Iowa. This villages just seems to surprise me. Kurotsuchi got out between laughs. Hey, it's natural for my hungry stomach to do that. I swear it has a mind of its own. Naruto added. Recovering from her laughter, Kurotsuchi sat up before her laughter stops. Haha. So what do you say to some lunch, blondie him? I guess. Naruto said as he began to sit up. How does ramen sound? Nah. I nearly exploded from that little eat-off we had in Y ramen. Want me to beat you again? I have never seen anyone eat like you and yet I beat you at what I'd guess to be your own game. She teased. Hey, I was caught off guard and I was sleepy. Naruto protested. PFF'd. Whatever Blondie. Let's just go get something to eat him, she said in a sing-song voice. Lead the way then. Akamichi Barbecue Eatery. MMMHMM. This barbecue is so delicious, huh? She giggled in glee. I'd much rather eat ramen. Naruto mumbled, taking a bite of his grilled steak. Oh come on. This is way better than ramen. I can eat this all day every day. And I can do the same with ramen. Naruto added. The two of them were enjoying their meal and after paying they leave and go for a short walk around the village. As they were walking through the streets there was one thing that was occurring that was getting Kurotsuchi upset. A few villagers gave Naruto hateful looks while several of the villagers were whispering several hateful words towards him. However, the thing that bugged her the most was how it didn't seem to bother the blonde boy. Hey, doesn't that bother you? She whispered in his ear. I'm used to it. Just ignore these losers and they'll go away and be lame somewhere else. Naruto replied. Deciding to drop the issue, the two of them then continued their little walk for about a half hour later before stopping in front of a shinobi's weapon and clothing shop. Say Naruto, besides the kunai you had earlier, do you have anything else? She asked, inspecting the slowly rusted knives. Not really, I've had those two kunai since I was like 5, so, no, I don't have anything else but those. He answered. Well, you're in luck. Since we start the academy on Monday, I feel pretty nice today and decided that I will get you some cool equipment. Kurotsuchi said in a cheerful tone. Wow, you really mean it? Well, yeah, I mean, we are friends after all, right? Or is my generosity not enough for you? She whimpered with puppy eyes. No, I like your generosity. Come on, let's go. Naruto said, dragging her into the store, which was called Shinobi Equipment and Wear. Upon entering the shop, Naruto and, yes, even Kurotsuchi, were amazed at how much weapons and shinobi gear the store was packing for the Konoha ninjas. I gotta admit, it's even better than the one in Iowa. They've got everything any ninja would want. She thought in awe as Naruto ran off to explore the shelves. This is awesome. What should we get? Oh, can we get that kusarigama? Oh, how about those katana? Or maybe even that daikyu yumi? No, those naginata and yari look good. Gah, I simply cannot decide. Giggling at the boy's silliness, Kurotsuchi walks up to a pair of sai and a tanto on display and hands it to him. Here, these are simple, yet easy to use weapons, but if you become really good with them you'll be the #1 buttkicker in all the land. So cool. Oh, that kunai knife set looks really awesome. Naruto pointed at several kunai displayed on the wall. Let's get these too. Whatever you want, but try not to overspend. I'm broke like Kurigakure after the last war. She lied. After buying the sai, tanto, kunai knife set, Naruto decided to get something extra, which was a pair of child-size Anbu cargo pants with a chain hanging off the back pocket. They then walk up to the cashier, who was surprisingly, instead of some villager who would have strangled Naruto, it was a girl with brown hair kept in 2 buns about their age if not a year older. Noticing the duo walking up to the counter, she smiled and greeted them. Hi, I'm Tenten, what are you purchasing? The cheerful girl asked. These. Naruto shouted, placing all his items on the counter. Okay. Just let me scan them, get the total price and bag these for you. Thanks. Naruto said before walking off to explore the store some more. While she was scanning the tags on each item, Tenten's curiosity got the best of her. She noticed that Kurotsuchi wasn't wearing the standard outfit she knew shinobi in Konoha wore. Kurotsuchi was wearing a red shirt that had a long sleeve on the left side while the right was sleeveless and red shorts that had a lapel over her right side with fishnet tights that screamed foreigner. Hey, you're not from Konoha, are you? She questioned. Not really. Kurotsuchi answered. Well, judging by the way you're dressed, I presume you're from Earth Country, right? Iwagakure. Yeah, but what's it to you? Kurotsuchi asked, wondering where Tenten was going with this. It's just that. Isn't there still bad blood between our villages after the last war? I mean, I'm surprised you even managed to get into the village without incident is all. Why are you here? I'm here because my grandfather, the Tsuchikage, sent me here as an exchange student to at least stabilize relations with one another. No more and no less. Oh really? Are you attending the academy when the first years begin on Monday? Pretty much. That's awesome. I'm a year ahead of you guys and I must say the curriculum and instructors are very professional and top of the line. I think you'll love it there. Yeah, I bet. Kurotsuchi scoffed before Naruto popped up out of nowhere. Hey, are you girls done talking yet? He shouted, spooking the two girls. Naruto. You almost scared me all the way back to Iowa. Kurotsuchi growled before grabbing his nose between her index and middle finger and proceeds to squeeze it very hard and pull. Ow. I'm sorry. Please let me go. Naruto pleaded. Do it again and I'll tie you down and gut you like a fish. Kurotsuchi ordered before releasing the blonde from her nose pinch of death. Here's your stuff. She said, holding the bag of stuff towards him. Reaching for the bag, Naruto takes it from her whilst still rubbing his sore nose. Thanks, Kuro-chan. What did you call me? Kurotsuchi asked. I called you Kuro-chan. Reaching her hand out, she once again pinches his nose between her index and middle fingers before giving it a twist, making the boy fall on his side, her grip remaining strong, and the reaction was what she wanted. Gah. Ow. Stop that, Kuro-cha. Ah. Naruto cried out. Call me that one more time and I'll swear I'll pull it off your face. Kurotsuchi snarled. Okay. Let me go now. She then releasing her grip in the poor blonde's nose, leaving the boy to rub it again. So you got your stuff, ready to go now? Kurotsuchi asked. Yeah, I guess. Alright then. Let's get going because we got more training. Aw man. The two of them then exit out of the store after bidding farewell to Tenten and go for a little walk. Since it was around 4 in the evening, there was still enough sunlight out for a few more hours of training. So Naruto, since I bought you a new kunai set, a tanto and a pair of sai. Oh, and those cargo pants too, maybe we can go train some more. Kurotsuchi said in a sickeningly sweet voice. Meh. Actually, I'm really tired, so I guess I'll. Naruto yawned before Kurotsuchi grabbed him by the collar of his button-up. The look Kurotsuchi gave him was something out of a nightmare. She had her eyes wide open and they were replaced with flowing lava. Naruto, if you want to be a good shinobi, then you should train. Kurotsuchi said in a voice that made Naruto shiver. Holy crap, that's scary. Fine. I'll train. But you gotta promise to teach me something. Setting him down, Kurotsuchi dusted him off. Good boy. And for what you want to learn, is it how to improve on throwing your kunai? Because that is why I wanted to take you to train some more. I'm gonna make you a top shot with your projectiles. Kurotsuchi said with a confident smirk. Oh, do you mean it? You will teach me? Naruto said with hope in his voice. Yeah, why not? The two of them then head to the Shuriken kunai throwing field located 10 minutes southeast of Konoha. Shuriken kunai range. Yeah, I did it. Naruto declared as he jumps for joy. He had successfully hit 3 consecutive bullseye with his kunai. Removing the kunai from the target, Kurotsuchi walked over to him and patted his back. Well, that's some great throwing, blondie. Now I got a new challenge for you. What is it? Naruto asked. Place a kunai knife in between your fingers to you look like you have 3 claws on each hand. Kurotsuchi ordered as she demonstrates by doing the task herself, like this. Doing what he was told, Naruto placed a kunai in between his fingers. Alright, now try to top this. She then proceeded to hurl the 6 kunai, all 6 hitting the bullseye in close proximity to each other. Try to do that, she said, giving the blonde a smirk. I can top that. Easy, Naruto said as he crosses his arms across his chest. Taking a deep breath, he then clumsily flings his kunai at the target only for the projectiles to completely miss the target paper. The kunai flying all over the place, landing on the grass. What? Naruto screamed. Ha 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 ha. Oh man, that was funny. Kurotsuchi laughed, earning a glare from the blonde. Hey, don't laugh. Ceasing her laughter, Kurotsuchi walked over to retrieve the kunai and walks back towards Naruto. Handing him the kunai, she goes to explain the fundamentals that Naruto wasn't implementing to get good throws. Here, when you throw kunai, whether it's 1 or even 6, you need to steady your hand. Go and place 6 in between your fingers again like earlier. Doing what he was told, Naruto then looks at Kurotsuchi for more instructions. Then what? He asked. Then take a few breaths and throw when you exhale, she explained. Naruto takes a few deep breaths as instructed before. Kurotsuchi continued her explanation. Now when you throw it, don't just fling it like a madman, because the way you did it made you look like a drunk Kumo ninja. You smoothly hurl it with a flick of the wrist and, well, I'll let you see for yourself. Nodding, Naruto then readies himself for the throw. He takes several deep breaths before deeply exhales. Opening his eyes, he eyes the target. He then smoothly hurls the kunai and with a flick of his wrists he sends the kunai flying towards the target paper. Watching the knives fly, he crosses his fingers with hope, and to his surprise all 6 of the kunai strike the bull's eye. Yeah, I did it! I did it! He exclaimed, jumping for joy. Smiling that her instructions were successful, she pats the happy boy in his back. Nice job. Looks like you do have a brain and attention span after all. She chuckled. Thanks, Kurotsuchi, Naruto said, reaching out to hug the girl only for her to place her index and middle finger on his forehead, halting his movement. Hey, let me hug you. No way. Remember what I said. No one has the right to hug me, Kurotsuchi said in a bossy tone. Pouting cutely, Naruto just turned his head the other direction. Fine. Smirking at the boy's misery, Kurotsuchi draws her katana and his sai. Hey, heads up. Looking up, he catches the small weapons in each hand. Wow, almost caught me by surprise there. Now are you ready to move on to the next part of your training this evening? Of course. But, what are we doing now? I'm going to teach you how to fight with sai against an opponent armed with a sword. Sound cool? Heck yeah, let's fight, Naruto said as he charged forward with his sai pointed out. As he comes close to the girl, she uses the hilt of her sword to bat both his arms away, leaving him open for attack. What the? Naruto gasped. With her target open for an attack, she lunges forward and shoots the hilt of the sword outward, striking the blonde boy in the bridge of his nose, sending him stumbling backwards, clutching said area. Ow, that hurt, he growled before Kurotsuchi appears behind him and trips him with a low sweep, sending him falling on his back. Unsheathing her katana, she holds the tip of the blade against his neck, grinning in satisfaction. You didn't wait for me to say start, Naruto. Groaning as she helps him up, Naruto just pouted. Well, maybe you should say something before I try to attack you, he snarled. Maybe you should stop being so impatient and let me give the signal to begin, Blondie. How about that? She retorted. Well, maybe you should. What? Got nothing to say, I got a lot of things to say, but I don't know what I should say. Whatever. Now let me teach you the basics of wielding the sai. 1 hour later. And that's what the prongs here are for, she concluded. I see. So psi can be used well in pairs, can function as projectiles and are good at disarming opponents. Naruto asked, receiving a nod in response. That's awesome, so I can take on someone with a sword like yours and basically win. If you know what you're doing, because if you don't, well, you could die. Oh, well then I won't lose to you then. Feeling up for a little fight? Let's see if my lessons make a difference. The two of them jump back to create some space, and Kurotsuchi would be the first one to attack first by rushing forward and unsheathes her katana. In response, Naruto raises his sai and miraculously catches the blade of the katana in between the prongs of the them. Smirking, he then attempts to twist the sai to try and disarm her, but before he could do so, Kurotsuchi released her grip on the handle, letting the blade spin in the air for a split second from Naruto's wrist twist before shoving him away. Reaching for the handle, she catches the blade in hand and brings the hilt down onto Naruto's head, bonking him hard. Youch! Naruto cried out, rubbing the sore forehead of his. Before he could say anything, he felt a hand on his chest shove him on his ass. Looking up, he saw Kurotsuchi standing before him with a victorious grin plastering her face. So you want to keep going? Or are you gonna be a good boy and surrender? She questioned. HMPH. Fine, you win. Again. He pouted. Good. Helping him up, she helps dust him off before looking at her watch. Well, it's almost 7 now. Want to continue training? Sure, I guess, but let's not do something physical. I'm already feeling excited. Excited? You mean exhausted? She corrected. Yeah, that's the word, heh. Placing a finger on her chin, she goes into thought on what they should do next. Well, I've already helped you learn the fundamentals of throwing kunai correctly and that lesson on how to use sai. Plus I pretty much beat you twice. How about I quiz you? Quiz me? On what? Questioned the confused blonde. Quiz you on what I taught you today, like, again, the fundamentals of throwing kunai, and maybe on what the parts of sai are called so you can be familiar with them. They'll most likely quiz us on these things in the academy, so this would be pretty helpful, you know. Kurotsuchi explained. Alright then, ask away. Naruto said with confidence. Okay then, what is this part called? She asked, pointing to the end of the handle. Oh, is it called the Tsunamigaisha? He snickered. Placing a hand on his face, she grabs his nose via her index and middle fingers and twists it violently. Ow. Alright, it's called the Tsukagashira. He screamed. Satisfied with his answer, she moves on to the next part. Alright. What is the most common use of the Tsukagashira? To bludgeon an opponent. Good boy, she said, pinching his cheeks, making him groan. Now, what is this part called? She pointed at the very tip of the weapon. That's the sake, and it's used for attacking with thrusts. Great. And here I was thinking that you were a dumb blonde. You do pay attention, she praised. After about an hour of quizzing her friend, the sun had now set, leaving the two of them sitting beside each other with a fire in front of them. Instead of heading home right away, they decided to have a mini camp night and enjoy the sounds of the night that nature had to offer. Roasting atop the raging flames were several fish Naruto had caught, while some mushrooms boil in a bucket below said fish. The two of them sit in silence before Naruto decided to break the silence. Hey, yeah, do you think sitting back and relaxing by a fire while looking up at the stars is fun? He asked. Smiling at his question, she then thinks for a moment to come up with an answer. Well, it's nice, I guess. Sometimes I like to think of the stars as like the sun. Heck, to be honest, I actually find the amount that appear every night pretty cool and pleasant to look at. The world is huge, that it man's existence is pretty insignificant compared to how vast the world is. She said. True, the world is so big. Another silence fills the air before Naruto reaches for a fish he caught and hands it to Kurotsuchi. Smirking at the boy's hospitality, she accepts the fish before taking a bite out of it. Wow, Naruto, This is pretty good. She commented before taking another bite of it. Of course it's good. I made it, he declared with a puffed chest. The two of them laughed and enjoyed their fish for the next half hour before Naruto decided to ask one question he was dying to ask her. Looking at the girl, he sighs deeply. Kurotsuchi. What is it? Why did you help me that night? You mean from the angry mob? Yeah. Now Kurotsuchi was taken by surprise at the question. How should she answer it? Should she lie? Should she tell him the reason she helped him? Thinking long and hard for a minute, she finally found the answer she wanted to give him. The truth. Because I didn't want to see you get hurt. Gasping at her answer, Naruto felt the temperature in his cheeks rise. Because you didn't want me to get hurt? He asked. Yeah, and because it's only a good deed to help someone in need, am I right? She answered, looking at him. But you didn't even know me, if not barely. We just had a ramen eat off and that was it. So, it doesn't matter if I know you or not, I just don't like seeing people get hurt. If I left you, who knows what they would have done to you? They could have beaten you, hung you, or even gut you alive, and I didn't want to see that because you don't deserve any of that crap these villagers give you. She said with compassion in her voice. Her guess was right all along. She did see happiness and joy in his eyes, but deep down he was hurting. Staring at the girl with wide eyes, Naruto felt tears trying their hardest to leave his eyes. Thank you, he said. Huh? Kurotsuchi asked, confused. Thank you for doing what you did, and for caring. He repeated. I promise when I get stronger I'll return the favor and protect you too. He declared. She then looked at him like he was a psycho. No way I can protect myself. Nope. I promise that I will protect you like you protect me. I never go back on my word. He said with that grin of his. Single quote, single quote, dot dot, single quote, single quote. She tried to say something but couldn't find the right words to get out. Well, that's real sweet of you, Naruto. You're welcome. Huh? You said thank you. I just said you're welcome. Oh, heh. Looking at the boy and seeing that cheesy foxy grin of his, she returned his smile. However, the quiet moment was interrupted when both their stomachs groaned and growled so loud that it echoed across the small field. The two of them were left blushing in embarrassment and turned to look at each other. Maintaining their mini stare down for about 30 seconds, they then break out into a fit of laughter. They stayed like that for over a minute before stopping to catch their breaths. Hearing the sizzling of the mushrooms become more noticeable, Naruto looked into the bucket to check them to see that they were about done. Try those mushrooms I got, Kurotsuchi. Naruto said, catching his breath. Looking at the bucket containing the mushrooms, Kurotsuchi gave them a look before pretending to throw up. Ew, no. You probably picked the poisonous ones on purpose so you can give them to me, huh? She said, pointing a finger at him accusingly. Baffled by her answer, Naruto carefully reached a hand into the boiling bucket and pulled out a mushroom. He then leans closer to Kurotsuchi and reaches for her mouth to try and put it in. You won't know until you try it. Now eat, he ordered. No. Get that thing away from me. Kurotsuchi giggled as she leans back, trying to avoid the fungus. Streets of Konoha. Another 2 hours would pass before they decided to head home since it was getting rather late now. Dousing the fire out, the two of them are seen walking through the quiet streets, and every now and then they would pass by a civilian or shinobi heading home from working the late shifts. They then approach where Kurotsuchi's apartment complex was and stopped at the front entrance. So, did you enjoy training today, Naruto? Kurotsuchi asked. Yeah, I totally did. Let's train again sometime, Naruto said, giving her his trademark grin. Maybe, if I feel like training you, that is. Oh, come on. What? I'm just kidding. Of course we'll train again sometime. She chuckled. Looking at Naruto, she gives him a smile that she rarely showed anyone, even her father and grandfather. Well, I guess this is where we say goodnight. She said. Yeah, it's really late, so I'll see you later. Later. The two of them then turned to go their separate ways. Opening the door to her building, she heard Naruto call out to her. Turning to face him, she saw that he was giving her a certain look. Yeah. Single quote, single quote, single quote. I didn't collect poison mushrooms because if I did I would be sick right now. Yes you did. Kurotsuchi said. No I didn't. Naruto shot back. Did too. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did not. Did too. Single quote, wait. I meant. Ha. So you did pick poison ones. I see how it is. Kurotsuchi pointed at him accusingly. No way. I did not. Naruto argued. Giggling at the blonde, Kurotsuchi just decided to give in. Oh fine, you didn't. See. Told you. She then turned to enter her building before. Wait. Again. Naruto shouted. Wah. Kurotsuchi whined. Are we friends? Kurotsuchi just snorted at his question, however she didn't want to give a sarcastic answer. She already knew what she was going to say. Yes. Yes we are friends Naruto. Best friends. PFF'd. Yeah, whatever, good night Naruto. She snarked before walking into her building. Okay. Good night. Naruto then walked back to his own apartment building. Kurotsuchi's apartment. Unlocking the door to her apartment, Kurotsuchi hung her katana from a display on her wall and went into her room. Laying face down, she then proceeded to doze off. She now understood why Naruto wanted a friend, and it was because no one wanted to be. It hurt her inside that someone could be so lonely like him. You know, maybe being his friend isn't so bad after all. She thought to herself before sleep took over. Naruto's apartment. Naruto entered his apartment and set aside his bag containing the things Kurotsuchi had bought for him earlier that afternoon. He dashes into his room and dives onto his bed sighing in happiness. He lays on his back looking at the ceiling. A huge smile plastering his face. It wasn't a fake smile either to hide his loneliness and depression, it was a genuine smile displaying his happiness, a feeling he felt for once in his young life. He was happy that he finally had someone he was real friends with. A genuine, real friend. Not a moment too soon he knocked out snoring his little heart out. Kurotsuchi is seen making her way towards Naruto's apartment building because today was an important day for them both. It was the day when the first years start their experience at the Konoha Ninja Academy. Despite not liking Konoha, the young Iowa native was actually a bit excited to learn the basics of being a shinobi, even if she was going to be in service to this village. Several minutes later, she makes her way to Naruto's building and ascends up the stairs and makes her way to his door. What was taped to the door made her giggle. It was a plain white piece of drawing paper that said, Naruto Uzumaki's Ramen Domain. With a chibi drawing of Naruto sporting his signature grin. Before she knocks the door, she thought back to the events of yesterday where they finally received their letters from the academy. Now that she was in front of his door, Kurotsuchi balled her hand into a fist to knock as loud as she could to wake up her blonde friend. She goes to bang on the door, but instead of regular knocking, she punched the door 3 times very hard that the sheer loudness of the banging woke Naruto and sent him flying off of his bed. Naruto, wake up! She roared. Holy crap! What is that? Naruto screamed as his blanket falls over his head, covering it completely, making him panic. Ah! It's got me. I can't see. Naruto is then left running around his room hysterically like a chicken without a head. Ah! Hearing the commotion going on inside, Kurotsuchi takes her katana and slides it in between the doorway and the locking mechanism itself. She then tinkers with the mechanism for a second before the door slowly opens a bit. Smirking, she then pushes the door open to see her friend moving around his living room and kitchen, knocking a lamp over and knocking over his picture frames. His confused rampage would end when he collided face first with the bathroom door, knocking him backwards onto the floor. That hurt. Naruto groaned just as the blanket was pulled off of him, giving the view of the world back, much to his pleasure. I can see. I can fight, Naruto declared, standing on his 2 feet. Stop being so loud, hurry up and get dressed because we got class, Kurotsuchi ordered. Turning around, he spots his best friend tapping her feet, her face sporting a face that was like, "The air you doing?" "Oh hey Kurotsuchi. Didn't expect you to be here so early. What brings you here?" Naruto questioned. "Did you not hear me? I said we have class today. It's the first day of the academy for us," Kurotsuchi yelled, doing her nose pinch of death on the boy. "Ow. Well, sorry, I forgot. Now please let me go," Naruto whined. Letting the boy go, Naruto ran into his room to get a change of clothes. "There. All changed, so let's get going," he said before running out, only to be stopped by Kurotsuchi, who grabs him by his shirt. "No way I'm letting you go without showering, Naruto. Now get in the shower and clean up," she ordered. "What? Why? We need to get to class," he pouted. "Class doesn't start until 9, so you have enough time to shower." "What? Then why did you wake me up so early if it starts at that time?" "Because you need to learn how to not sleep in cause in the shinobi world when you're out there you won't get to sleep, especially on missions," Kurotsuchi said in a matter-of-fact voice. "Alright then. I'll go shower, sheesh." 30 minutes later. Kurotsuchi was busy raiding Naruto's fridge while he showered, and what she found kept in both the fridge, shelves, and yes, even the freezer were over 300 cups of microwavable ramen. Honestly, is this all he ever eats? She thought with a sweat drop. This guy needs to eat healthier or his physical capabilities as a shinobi are gonna stink. Closing the fridge door, she hears Naruto exit out of the bathroom. Turning to face the boy, she was satisfied with what she saw. Her blonde friend looked squeaky clean. His dried up drool littering the corners of his mouth gone. Great job. One of the most important things a shinobi should worry about is his hygiene. So you ready to go? I was even nice enough to pack up your backpack for you, she said, pointing to the pack on the table. Yep. Let's go, Naruto said, picking up the pack, and the two of them head off. The two of them are seen making their way at the direction of the academy, and soon enough they spot the large building coming into view. There it is. It's the Ninja Academy, Naruto shouted with glee as he took off running at a fast speed. What the? He barely passed his 2-mile with me, but when there's something that excites him he gets superhuman speed. Looks like I found a way to get him running faster, she thought to herself as she looks up. The sight before her made her snort. She was looking up at the Hokage monument. Stopping for a second, she takes the time to look at each individual face. When she got to the third one, she scoffed at seeing that old Hiruzen guy up there, but the person next to him made her cringe. It was the fourth Hokage, the man responsible for killing her mother, the one she never got to meet a week after she was born during the Third Shinobi War. Bastard. Hope you're rotting in hell, murderer, she growled before continuing after Naruto. Academy courtyard. The two of them enter the academy courtyard to find it jam-packed with first years. Holy crap, that's a lot of Konoha brats, Kurotsuchi whispered to herself. Naruto was busy scanning the courtyard for anything that caught his eye, and he spotted a swing under a large tree that provided shade. Looking up at the sky, he saw the sun shining brightly, and the clear skies weren't doing anyone justice, hiding the intense rays that were shining down on them. Kurotsuchi, come on, Naruto said, grabbing the girl by her hands and literally dragging her. Hey, stop pulling my arm, you're gonna rip it off. Stopping in front of the swing, Naruto sits down on it and innocently swings his legs. Push, he ordered. Kurotsuchi was just staring at him, all confused. You want me to? What? Push. I've never been pushed on a swing before, so push. Naruto pleaded. Kurotsuchi contemplated before nodding. Walking behind the boy, she places her palms on his back. This will be the only time I push you, got it? She growled. Yeah, got it. Now push. Kurotsuchi complied and gave him one good shove, sending him swinging at a good arc that had him about 5 feet above the ground. Yeah, push harder. Naruto demanded. PFT, whatever. Kurotsuchi said as he swings back to her. Catching him with the palm of her hands, she then gives him another shove, and this time it had so much force behind it he nearly went sailing through the air. After slowing down, Naruto got off the swing safe and sound. Whoa, I almost went flying there. You are good at shoving, Kurotsuchi. The boy said cheerfully. Thanks for pushing me, it was loads of fun. Don't mention it, Naruto. Look at the blonde hanging out with his Iowa girlfriend. Damn, love birds. A voice spoke out. Turning to face the person behind the voice, they spot a boy who had brown, shoulder-length hair that hung about his face and brown eyes. He was wearing a dark, baggy outfit with a hooded red and black jacket, and the most noticeable feature was that he had a senbon in his mouth. Taking a second to hear what the boy had just said, it took all of Kurotsuchi's power to hold back from attacking the kid. What? Did you just call us love birds? We're only friends. She shouted in anger. Yeah, you heard me, girly. I called you and that blonde kid love birds. Got a problem with that Iowa girl? Go back to your village. The boy spat. You wanna fight, leaf underling? And I'd rather be an Iowa girl than some Konoha punk with a bad haircut. Let's go. Kurotsuchi reached for her katana when Naruto stepped in front of her. Hey, get out of my way, Naruto. I'm going to teach this kid a lesson. The commotion the two of them were causing caught the attention of the other first years, who were now observing the exchange. Kurotsuchi, please don't. I don't want you to get in trouble for fighting, so please back off and let it go. Naruto spoke softly. Well, ain't that cute? The blonde kid is trying to save his Iowa girlfriend from getting in trouble for hitting me, it's so romantic. The boy snickered. Kurotsuchi looked at her friend in the eyes and saw that he was telling the truth. He really didn't want her to get in trouble. Letting go of the katana's handle, she makes a pouty face. HMPH, fine then, Naruto, you win this time. She then proceeded to walk back to where the swing was and sat under the tree. Turning to face the boy, Naruto just gives him a glare before walking off. TCH, losers. The boy said before walking elsewhere. Naruto walked over to where Kurotsuchi went and sat beside her at the base of the tree. Kurotsuchi, what were you thinking? Trying to get in trouble the first day and before class even started? Heck, before we even meet our instructors. Looking at the blonde, Kurotsuchi was going to answer before another voice spoke, cutting her off. Hey, you two, don't mind that guy, he's always a wisecracking jerk. Turning to look at the person, Kurotsuchi and Naruto were greeted to the sight of the sweetest and friendliest looking girl they have ever seen. She had long, jet black hair that went down all the way to her lower back, and she had brown eyes. She was wearing a purple shirt and jean shorts. All in all, she was the type of girl everyone would consider the pretty girl type. Who are you? Kurotsuchi asked, wondering why she was invading their personal space. Oh, sorry, where are my manners? My name is Yukari Nishizumi. She introduced in a cheerful tone. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde declared. Nice to meet you, Naruto. Yukari giggled before looking at Kurotsuchi. Kurotsuchi was hesitant to introduce herself. Just when she almost got into a fight with a Konoha brat, another one comes along and tries to talk to her. Deciding that the girl was harmless, she sighed before speaking. Kurotsuchi, nice to meet you, so who was that wisecracking asshole? I want to know his name so I can remember to kick his later. Kurotsuchi questioned. Oh, that was Genma Shiranui, and don't mind his attitude, just ignore him. So, why are you two sitting here by yourselves? Why don't you come and join the rest of us? The instructors are about to come out and get us. The girl said invitingly. I just like being alone with my blonde friend over here. I'm not much of the social type. Kurotsuchi spoke. Not much of a social type, but you have the blonde boy as a friend. Seems like you're somewhat social. Shut up. Kurotsuchi yelled. Oh come on Kurotsuchi. Let's go over and make some more friends. Naruto got up to run over to the group of kids in the middle of the courtyard at an inhumane speed. Yukari gave Naruto an exasperated look as if he was a psycho. Is your friend always like that? Loud and high speed. Oh yeah, and I have to deal with him all the time, ugh. Kurotsuchi complained, slapping herself in the face as she and Yukari walk after Naruto. After a half hour of waiting, the door to the academy opened and out stepped several instructors that Kurotsuchi assumed were all Chunin rank. Alright everyone, settle down so we can get you your instructors. A Chunin with brown hair kept in a ponytail said. Seeing the students settle down, he nods in satisfaction. Alright then, I am Iruka Yumino. All who have me as their instructor form a straight line in front of me while doing so in an orderly fashion. He instructed. However, his instructions fell on deaf ears as all the students who will be under his teaching all stampeded towards him like a bunch of psychotic wildebeests. Hey, I said street. Ah! Iruka screamed in pain as he was trampled over by the students. After his class went into the building, the other Chunin ran over to check on his well-being. Iruka, are you okay? Iruka was unable to answer. One particular first year had stepped on his throat. That girl has a strong foot, Classroom number 250. We see the entirety of Iruka's class sitting across the room chit-chatting their little hearts out. In the back row we see Naruto and Kurotsuchi making small talk away from everyone else. So, Naruto, I have been dying to ask you something if you don't mind. Kurotsuchi asked. What? I can't hear you. Naruto said as the sounds of everyone talking drowned out Kurotsuchi's voice. I said I've been dying to ask you something if you don't mind. She repeated. What? Naruto said, holding his hand next to his ear. I said, never mind. Okay. The door to the classroom opened, catching the students by surprise. In walked Iruka with a neck brace and crutches. He slowly tings his way towards his desk to face the front of the room. Making his way to the desk, he somehow tripped and fell over a broken heap. Groaning in pain, Iruka's misfortune was providing some great entertainment for Naruto and Kurotsuchi. Taking a few minutes to get back on his 2 feet, Iruka finally manages to get back up and takes a seat behind the desk. Setting his crutches aside, he reaches for the clipboard on the desk and proceeds to go over the names of the students in the class. Ahem. Hello class. I am Iruka Yumino and I will be your instructor here for your entire 4 years here. Right now I will call attendance to see if everyone is here or if we're missing someone. Alright, first up is Shino Aburame. Single quote, absent. Single quote, exclamation mark, single quote. Choji Akamichi. Munch, absent. A few names later. Sakura Haruno. Chia. After going through a few more names, Iruka had called out Kurotsuchi's. Kurotsuchi Kamizuru. I'm here. The Iowa girl said enthusiastically. Sasuke Uchiha. HN. And now we come to the last student on the roster. Do we have a Naruto Uzumaki here? Iruka asked, looking at his students. I'm here, sensei. Naruto shouted out with both his hands raised high. Ah, there you are. That spiky, blonde hair should help me recognize you. Iruka said, placing the clipboard on the desk. Anyways, once again I am Iruka Yumino and I will be your Chunin instructor for your entire 4 years here. I hope you take the lessons and lectures from me seriously if you wish to become shinobi of the leaf, whether you're a native here or an exchange student like Ms. Kamizuru over there. Kurotsuchi gave a smirk when she heard that. In return, I also hope to learn a great deal from each and every one of you. I promise I will do everything in my power to give you a positive learning experience here, and I hope you all in return make the best of it. Now, since our first period is the fundamentals of taijutsu, let us go over a basics of it, shall we? Iruka said as he struggles to get up from the desk. With both crutches under each arm, he makes his way towards the board and picks up a piece of chalk, though not without visible struggle. Alright, first lesson in basic taijutsu is. Iruka was interrupted when two spitballs were shot at him, striking him on the head. Turning around, he saw a certain duo snickering their butts off with a straw each of their hands. He turned around to berate them, only for the two of them to fling a barrage of spitballs, hitting him in various places such as the face, throat, chest. Then a spitball the size of a fist delivered the coup de grace by hitting him in his balls. Yuch! Iruka cried out in pain as he collapses on his knees whilst clutching his mini-me's a twitching mess. Period 6. After a painful day involving things being thrown at him, rude and indecent noises being made when he was giving his lectures, Iruka led his classroom out to the sparring field and track, where they will do a few sparring matches and races using the basic taijutsu that Iruka had instructed them on. Alright, you youngsters, last period begins, and as you all know, we will have a few sparring matches and some PT involved. So everyone find a buddy. Iruka instructed. Yukari wanted to have a three-man group with Naruto and Kurotsuchi, but she ended up being chosen by a girl who had pink hair and sounded like a howler monkey. Genma ended up being paired with some guy that had a dog riding on his head that Naruto found to be very obnoxious. After several minutes, all the students had chosen a buddy. Nodding, Iruka then continued his instructions. Alright, you see those tracks there? He asked, earning nods from the youngsters. First, I will have you race against your buddy if it behooves you. Think of it as a little competition to build some camaraderie. Both Naruto and Kurotsuchi's eyes were replaced with bright yellow stars. Oh yeah, I get to beat Kurotsuchi now. Hell yeah, I get to whoop Naruto's again. The two of them were then ordered to take their positions at the starting line. Are you two ready? Both of them nodded. Then on 3, 2, 1. Begin. Naruto and Kurotsuchi took off from the starting position in full-on sprints, and in the beginning Kurotsuchi had pretty much left Naruto in the dust, and it seemed that the race would be in her favor. However, when they hit the middle of the track, Kurotsuchi decided to feign fatigue. The sun's heat is just too much. Not much oxygen. 2. Tired. 2. Continue. She moaned before pretending to faint just as Naruto zoomed past her. Aha! You're tired, so it looks like I'm going to win this race and finally beat you at something. Naruto declared, his voice getting quieter as he runs further away. Yeah, in your dreams, blondie. Kurotsuchi thought before a smirk plastered her face. Naruto continued his running and saw the finish line within his grasp. At the finish line, he saw his classmates cheering, some for him and some against him. Go blonde guy. I hope you trip. Single quote, single quote, single quote, single quote. Run for your life. HN. It would be such a drag if you had to drag yourself to the finish line. Hearing the cheering of his classmates, Naruto picked up his speed, and just when he was 2 meters away from the finish line. Swish! Kurotsuchi had zoomed right past Naruto with enough speed to send the boy spinning like a top and was sent careening into Iruka, knocking the two of them over. Bringing her sprint to a halt, Kurotsuchi raised her hands into the air, basking in the silence of victory. Whoa! How did she move that fast? She's awesome. Yeah right. Sasuke-kun can beat her. Turning to face her classmates, she spots Naruto laying on the floor, Walking over to her friend, she bends over and picks him up by his collar. The poor blonde had swirls for eyes. Hey, that's what happens when you act so, Naruto. You still got a long way to go before you can beat me in a race. Kurotsuchi teased. 1 hour later. After doing their sparring matches and a few more races, the final bell rang and Iruka had dismissed his class for the day. Making their way out of the courtyard, they then head towards the Ichiraku ramen stand, much to Kurotsuchi's dismay. Can we go eat something else, Naruto? You realize how unhealthy ramen is. Let's go to my house so I can cook some good food. She said. Naruto just waved her off. I don't care. Ramen is the food of the gods. So heavenly and tasty. Yeah. Sure, it's tasty, but if you keep eating it your whole life, guess what's gonna happen? What? Kurotsuchi then grabbed Naruto by his collar, pulling him in close where their faces were inches away. Naruto was taken by surprise, and when he looked at his friend he saw that all too familiar evil, scary look in her eyes. It was the look of death. You'll die, Kurotsuchi whispered in a sinister voice, her eyes a glowing and evil red. Oh God. Naruto spoke in fear at the frightening sight. Fine. You go ahead and cook. Naruto pouted. Releasing the blonde from her grip, she then pinches his cheek. Good. She exclaimed before grabbing him by the nose via her nose pinch of death and drags him through the streets. Kurotsuchi's apartment. After nearly 20 minutes of walking for Kurotsuchi and dragging for Naruto, they had arrived at her apartment complex. Heading through the front door, Naruto was wondering what she had in store for lunch. Hey Kurotsuchi, what are you going to cook for us? He wondered. You'll see when I finish. She said. I'm sure it's good. I can't wait to taste. That's a good boy, Kurotsuchi said before they make their way into her apartment. Entering her apartment, she then heads straight for the kitchen. Make yourself at home, Naruto. I'll go cook. Oh, and don't be too loud or else you'll regret it because I need to concentrate. She teased before taking out several cooking tools and begins cooking for her friend. Naruto took a seat on the couch and admires how nice her apartment is compared to his. Her place was neat and orderly, and he saw several mounted katanas and wakizashis on display in the living room. She had a nice HD TV. Spotting a blockbuster bag set on the table, he looks into it and spots several Princess Gale movies in the bag. That's awesome. Never seen one of these movies before. He then turns his attention to a table set at the corner of the room, and what he saw sprawled across the table made him curious. He saw several frames that had pictures of Kurotsuchi. Getting up from the couch, he makes his way over to the table. Picking up one of the picture frames, he saw a 2-year-old Kurotsuchi being carried by a man who he assumed was her dad. Smiling, he sets it down and picks up another one. This one had a picture of Kurotsuchi in what it appeared to be the type of picture you'd put in a yearbook. He saw a smile on her face that he never saw before, and he admits that the smile made her really cute. Her pink eyes in the picture sporting a look of happiness. Her eyes make her really pretty. Naruto said to himself, setting the picture down, and picks up the last one. This one was a picture of Kurotsuchi and her dad and a short old guy Naruto assumed was her grandpa. I wish I had pictures like this, he thought sadly, setting the picture down. Walking towards the kitchen, he saw Kurotsuchi preparing what looks like salmon and shrimp and some type of salad. Watching her cook, he saw that she seemed to know what she was doing, and before he could ask when it would be done, both of their stomachs growled that one very loud growl that it usually made. Both froze and gave each other a look before laughing. So when is it going to be done, Kurotsuchi? Naruto asked. Hey, you can't rush art, she said. But I'm hungry, complained Naruto. Then be quiet and go lay on the couch because this will take at least another half hour, if not an hour. Kurotsuchi ordered with authority. Fine. Naruto then goes to lay on the couch, and as he does, he hears the satisfying sound of the fish and shrimp sizzling in a pan. Man, I'm so hungry. He murmured before he dozed off. Kurotsuchi places a few more salmon and shrimp tempura in the pan, increasing the sizzling noise the oil was giving as it was frying the food. She then walks to the table and takes some uncooked ramen noodles. Yeah, sure, she didn't like that Naruto ate ramen all the damn time, but she wanted to try her hands on cooking it and seeing what he would think about it. Reaching into the cabinet, she takes out a large pot and fills it up with water before putting it on the stove. Turning on the burner, she then leaves the water to boil before heading back to the table. 1 hour later, after over an hour of cooking, slicing and dicing cooking ingredients, Kurotsuchi had finally finished making the ramen, her shrimp tempura and her pan-fried salmon. She places the plates with the food neatly on the table. She gets up to sit on the counter and eyes her table carefully before nodding in satisfaction. Getting off the counter, she then walks over to the couch where Naruto was napping. Spotting her sleeping friend, she tries to prod him awake. I want to eat ramen while riding a pony, the blonde said sleepily. Kurotsuchi almost went into a fit of laughter at hearing that. Seeing her friend only stir in his sleep, she then decided to take drastic measures. Walking over behind the couch, she places her hands under the it. With an evil smirk, she then proceeds to flip the couch over, sending Naruto flying off and landing on the floor hard. The force of his landing enough to wake him up almost instantly. Ow! Naruto cried out. Wake up, Naruto! She screamed in his ear. Ah! My ears. Lunch is ready. So come and get it. Lunch? Where? On the table. Where else? Kurotsuchi said, annoyed as she walks over to take a seat with Naruto following suit. Naruto had a look of pure glee on his face. All the food seemed so good. Boy, he couldn't wait to put all that in his stomach. Wow, Kurotsuchi, you cooked all this? Of course, who else? So if you have nothing else to say, dig in. Okay. 30 minutes later. After a quiet dinner of pan-fried salmon, shrimp tempura and a bit of miso soup, Naruto was purely satisfied by such a meal. Kurotsuchi just watched her friend eat, enjoy her cooking with a smile. Taking his last bite of fried salmon and yes, even the salad Kurotsuchi prepared, he gives out a loud burp signaling his satisfaction. Ah, that was really good, Kurotsuchi. Thanks, he said happily. You better not tell anyone that I cooked for you, or this will be the last time I do it. She pouted, crossing her arms. Hearing that, Naruto had to ask this one question that just popped in his head. Now I'm a bit curious, Kurotsuchi, why did you cook for me? Blushing at the question, she tried to pick her words carefully before answering him. I've said it already, I care about you, Naruto. That's all, she said. And I appreciate it, I really do. No one has ever cooked for me. Naruto said with his trademark grin. So Kurotsuchi, what is it? I'm a bit curious about you. We're friends, but I barely know anything about you. And there's a lot of things about me that I won't tell you. She teased. Oh, come on. Can I at least ask you some questions? I guess, but you can only ask 2 for now. Great. So let's see. When is your birthday? September 6th. What about yours? Oh wow, it's less than a week away. My birthday is October 10th. He answered sadly. Kurotsuchi didn't miss the hint of sadness in his voice but decided not to question it. One more question. Let's see. What is your dream for the future? He asked with a smile. There's only one answer to that, Naruto. I want to be the next Tsuchikage. The most awesome out of all the Kage. I'm gonna take that title away from my gramps. Kurotsuchi declared with a smug grin. Oh, that's similar to me because I want to be Hokage and the greatest one at that. Bahahaha. I don't doubt you for a second, but mark my words that I will become a Kage before you. Oh yeah, I bet I'll be Hokage before you become Tsuchikage. PFF'd. Whatever, Naruto. Now settle down because right now we're going to have seconds. she said, getting up to fetch the ramen, placing it in the boiling water inside the large pot from earlier. I didn't know you cooked ramen, Kurotsuchi. Naruto said. I don't, but I wanted to try it out and see if you like it. I mean, you loved my pan-fried salmon and shrimp tempura, so let's see if you like my ramen. After eating some ramen, and to Kurotsuchi's relief, Naruto found her homemade noodle to be delicious. Checking the clock on her kitchen wall, she saw that it was almost 5 in the evening. So she decided to spend the rest of the day training. Say, Naruto, how about some training? She asked. What kind of training? I've already taught you the fundamentals of kunai throwing and how to use your sai, so I think this time I'll teach you a martial art. So cool. A martial art? Which one? You'll have to wait and see when we get to the training field. Third training field, 3 hours later. Oof. Naruto grunted as he was knocked on his ass. You got to stop letting your guard down, Naruto, otherwise your enemies will take you out. Kurotsuchi said in a lecture voice. You're just so fast though. No way I can keep up with your speed. Just get up, Naruto. Jujutsu and Taekwondo take hard work to master. Remember what I said about you. You have dedication and you work hard all the time. So do the same for these taijutsu styles and you'll be good. I promise. She explained, helping her friend up. Now, Naruto, what do you think you can do if an opponent comes charging you either with or without a weapon? Well, I can try to shoulder throw you, right? Right, but you can't just reach your hands out and shoulder throw them because you gotta time it right. Now come charging at me like you have a katana. Doing what he was told, Naruto charges Kurotsuchi like he had a katana in his hands, coming within reach. Naruto slashes with his imaginary katana only for Kurotsuchi to grab his wrists before giving it a good twist, disarming him had there been a real weapon in hand. She then proceeds to shoulder throw him and places her foot on his throat hard, making him tap out. I give. Naruto cried out. Good boy. Kurotsuchi said, letting him go. What else can we do with Jujutsu and Taekwondo? Naruto asked, dusting himself off. Well, we've been doing it for over an hour and you seem to be getting the basics for each down. How about a spar? Okay. This time I'm sure I can beat you. Hey, go ahead and try. The two of them then get into position and turn to face each other. Ready. First to pin the other down for 3 seconds wins the spar, so I want you to come at me with everything you got. Oh, and don't be soft just because I'm a girl. Kurotsuchi said, receiving a nod. Begin. Kurotsuchi lunges forward and goes in for a Mach speed punch, and to her surprise Naruto managed to dodge it quickly. Damn, I didn't expect that. Looks like my lessons do make a difference. After her first miss, she is greeted with a roundhouse kick that she effortlessly blocks it with her forearm, but the force of the kick nearly knocks her over. Naruto then follows up with an uppercut only for Kurotsuchi to catch the punch with her free hand. She then maneuvers her hand in a way that sends the blonde spinning to the ground. Whoa! Naruto cried out as he lands on the ground with a thud. Kurotsuchi then follows up with a downwards hook kick only for Naruto to catch it. Gotcha! Naruto then pulls her down onto the ground next to him and goes to straddle her. He then reaches his hands downwards and goes to choke her while applying his weight against her to pin her down. Kurotsuchi was unable to do anything since her arms were pressed against her chest via his legs. I win this time, Naruto said with glee. 1, 2, thr. Before Naruto could count 3, Kurotsuchi managed to summon the strength to kick her leg upwards, hitting Naruto in the back of his head. Ow! Naruto cried out, releasing the girl from his clutches. Kurotsuchi then moves her arms from under his legs and quickly shoves his hands out of the way, creating an opening where she flips him over and straddles him. What the? Naruto shouted in surprise as he ends up being pinned. Kurotsuchi then follows through by reaching for his arm and putting him in an arm lock with one of her legs wrapped around his chest, effectively pinning him and leaving him at her mercy. 1. Dang it. 2. I can't lose. 3. Releasing Naruto from her arm lock, she jumps into the air, basking in her victory. Yeah, Kurotsuchi wins, she declared unhappily. Aw man, I thought I had you. Naruto complained as he gets up. I admit, Naruto, you almost had me there, but it's going to be a while before you can beat me. And I'll train every day then so I can get better. That's exactly what we're going to do when class is over, train and train until we can't walk anymore. That sounds awesome. After that they then went home since it was getting very late. After walking to Kurotsuchi's apartment complex, they bid each other goodnight. Kurotsuchi's apartment, 1 week time skip. After a week of boring lectures, messing with Iruka and training after school, the two of them have grown quite close. Today was a special day, however. It was Kurotsuchi's birthday and she is seen sitting on her couch in the living room. A bored look on her face.